Hello. Yeah, I think it's getting recorded now. Yeah. So he is the person, and thanks to him, I then started reading books of Bangalore Venkataraman, who is, I would say, the astrologer, the the biggest astrologer in not just India, in the world in the 20th century. So his books taught me a lot. I mean, like he has written multiple books. His knowledge is so vast. And then there was a spell when I was in US with Dipanjan. That was around the time 2005, 2006. So I had resigned from my job, and I was having the time. I was at home over there. I was not very occupied with anything else. So those were the 2 years when I again really moved on. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of books written by American authors on Vedic astrology, which again gave me, like, an insight into how they saw things. So Americans, as we know, they have a very rational way of thinking. Now Indian astrologers, it's sometimes you may be reading the books, but it's difficult to really understand. It's difficult to cut through the logic and have it in a very nice, easy to read and application oriented manner. So those books, I think it was James Braha whose book was really good. And so though after those 2 years, so my journey continued. Like I kept on, like, reading books. But then it was never like a very focused effort. Yes, I would look at the horoscopes that came my way. I think, and in the course of my journey, then my another guru, I would say, Shudipta Bhakto, he also helped me a lot. He is a very intuitive astrologer. So it's like different people. It's just like, in an organization you have mentors, different people have different styles. So I think in my journey I have learned from all the people I've been fortunate enough to come into interaction with, and they have taught me something from their different styles. This year, I mean, maybe the only silver lining which the corona situation had was it kind of put me in a situation where I would not say I'm having time. My day is still very occupied with my day. My full time I work in HSBC, so I'm like really morning. I sit at around say 10 or 10:30 until 8 in the night. I'm like totally onto that. I don't have the time. But otherwise, when I'm doing some maybe mundane work, so it opened to me a world of, I came into contact with really great astrologers of today. So people who have done a lot of innovations, who are doing a lot of research. So thanks to them, I think definitely this year, my own, I would say, learning curve has increased sharply. New techniques, and it's like adding skills. And another element which really interested this year was, how do you validate it? How do you kind of look at people's horoscopes, validate things? And it needs to be futuristic to a certain way. It has to be application oriented. So if you, I mean, that's where it is. And the motivation for this course, as I was telling, like, mm, oops, yeah. So the motivation behind this talk is again based on my own experiences with astrologers. So even I have been in the journey as a person. So typically we go to astrologers when we are mainly in trouble. I mean, that's the time when we want a quick solution. And we go to them just the way we would approach an allopathic doctor, say, like, I mean, it could be an issue like there is a delay in marriage. It could be an issue like somebody is very seriously ill. It could be something like I have lost my job, or I'm not doing well in my career, give me a solution. So sometimes, yes, a pill works. Just again, I'll give a comparison of this with the allopathic doctor, where something they give immediately, they prescribe something, it works for the moment, but then it does not go to the root cause, which helps you ultimately kind of, it's not a holistic approach, which is what all our other doctors, which other branches of science have, like say homeopathic or ayurvedic, who really try to understand the history, the psychology, and then they try to give something which is more long term. So the person also, so there is a gap between what the astrologer says and the way the person who is going to the astrologer kind of receives that advice. So sometimes it's not just necessarily in bad time. Sometimes you're just trying to test the astrologer, And a lot of terms that the astrologer says, if a person says your sun is in the seventh house, or your Mars is in the seventh house, you're having this, you're going through this dasha, it makes no sense. So at least I felt like people should have understand. So all of us have an horoscope. All Hindu families, like, we do have our charts, we have our birth charts, our parents have made it. So it's there in some form or the other. So at least the way we understand our body, we know what our hands are, what our feet are, where is it, I know where the pain is. If at least I have that basic understanding, it definitely helps me to ask questions. So if somebody is telling this is wrong, okay, I need to understand, is this something which is a temporary issue? I need to be also ask the other person those relevant questions. Is it a temporary issue? Is it a long term issue? How do I then fix that? What are the remedies which are, which will work? Which remedies are practical? How can I adapt that? So this is the reason I felt like this session may maybe help others. And I would not say, I would say, like, it's not just about helping others. Even for me, even though this looks like a basic session, as this year, as I was telling you, the more advanced topics I learned, I kept falling back to the fundamentals, the basics. So this is a kind of a science where you have to be really sound. You need to understand the fundamentals very well, because that's what keeps on getting applied and applied. So for me too, it has been a learning experience in putting together this presentation. And I hope, you do find value in it. And like I said, feel free to raise your hand, ask any questions that come to your mind, or put them in the chat box, and Dipanjan can help kind of coordinate that. And hopefully we should, yeah, I would really like this to be an interactive session where maybe you can tell me about your experiences, what has gone well, what has not gone well, maybe with astrologers, so that, and any terms that you have been told which you would need clarification on, feel free to let us know that. Any questions so far from anyone? All
Vijay,
right.
can put your presentation in the,
Full screen,
presentation
right?
layout mode.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So the learning path in this case, like I said, I would just touch upon what is this Jyotish Shastra about? How does it connect to, the scientific element of it, the astronomical calculations, the calculations behind it, and what is the logic used, and what is, again, it's not just about having something like a mathematical model. There is a deeper knowledge which plays around it, and how do we really relate to that? Hopefully, this introduction should help. And I would be walking you through the different horoscope styles which are in use, so that you can relate that to your personal horoscope. How are the how what is the, again, fundamentals of zodiac and rashis? This I hope to cover today. Day two would be based on what we call as the bhavas or houses of a horoscope. Day three would be about the Navagrahas, because these, they look like one single topic, but this is actually quite heavy in content. And day four would be the Dasa system and the common terminologies used. And I would try and walk you through a sample analysis based on the concepts learned and apply it to Sri Rama's chart. So that's in a nutshell the plan. But like I said, this is something, this is a learning journey. So anyone has any specific questions can let me know, and I'll see how I can weave it into the overall. So moving on, one word, which came to my mind when I was myself going through this, like we commonly refer to Indian style of astrology as Vedic astrology. Now, this is a term which was applied or which was given to our system by the Westerners. Why? Because for them, it was always about astrology. So, astro and logy comes, it's basically the science, or it's a study of stars, the cosmos. That's what they mean. Yes. Uh, yeah, sorry. Were you saying something? Hello? So, yeah. So, in when we talk about, however, when we call it as Jyotisha, there is a subtle difference which comes into this, this whole structure. We say it is the study of light, and this light comes from the sun. So it is the sun, the 12 rashis that we have. They're all because they are formed because of the journey of the sun through the 12 rashis. And I'll come to that subsequently. I'll talk about what the rashis are, how are they defined, and all that. But it's all about the sun's journey through the rashis, which, and he is the main source of light in the zodiacal system. So it is his light, it is his knowledge. So he knows, it's the knowledge of the past, the present, and the future. So it's all about this study of light. So what do we want? We want to be enlightened. We want a light. We want to have a kind of light which shows the path ahead, so that we can really, we know which path we are traversing is the right path or is it the wrong path. So which is why this word Jyotisha is slightly different to Vedic astrology. I mean, in terms of interpretation, but in a layman term, they are one and the same. There's really no difference. And this Jyotish Shastra, so it is what all the principles that we apply right now, or we use, all the astrologers across India and everywhere. It's all based on the teachings of Rishi Parasara. Parashara was the grandson of sage Vasishtha, and he was the father of Veda Vyasa. So you can kind of make a sense of the period when these teachings were established. Now all this, or all his work is compiled in a collection called the Brihat Parasara Horashastra, which is which has a lot of verses. So it is the interpretation of these verses from where we have all these knowledge of rashis, planets, what happens when one graha is where, the divisional charts, etc., etc. These teachings of Parashara also, the way we have it now, even I mean, across the ages, there have been a great astrologers like Varahamira. There has been different people, but like Jaimini, but they have always, kind of taken the teachings of Parashara and then try to further interpret it. So that's the way it is. So this is how old this entire, I would say, knowledge is. Yeah, unfortunately, I guess it is my understanding, or maybe my own assumption, that a lot of this knowledge has been lost over a period of time. What we have is maybe just a certain very small percentage of what he may have originally written. If we just, we do know that a lot of, not just here. And this knowledge, the way, study of astrology has helped me personally is, it has really helped me understand the different mythological stories, understand the significance of the deities. I mean, relate to them and really understand that. And in fact, there is a lot of linkage with the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Puranas. So that's, I mean, we have to look at this like at that time. In fact, even today, a lot of Ayurvedic doctors, they do have a knowledge of astrology. So it's kind of all interlinked. Unfortunately, yes, in these days, in current world, a lot of these things has become dispersed. There is a lot of doubts raised, but I would leave it to that individual to learn, understand, and take what they find personally acceptable. It is very logical, very scientific. So all the I would say, the calculations, the way the charts are made, all this was laid out. The principles is laid out in a book called Surya Siddhanta. And this book was the one version which is right now available to us, was rewritten somewhere in the 15th century. It was based on another Surya Siddhanta, which was written on 8th century AD. And that also, see, before that, we don't know how long. So everything, like what is the distance of maybe Saturn from the Earth, how long does the sun take to go through the Rashi. So all these mathematical calculations which were used are used in that book. Yes, in today's world, what has also happened is astrologers like P.V. Narasimha Rao, whose software I use very extensively. So they have also linked the data with the NASA data. So it's even more accurate. It's even more like all the corrections are there, irrespective of the place, the longitude, latitude correction. So all these are taken into consideration. And just one more thing which I would like to touch upon before we go on to the next slide is, okay, fine. We know that, there are the stars, there is the moon, the sun, and all of these. It's there in the cosmos. We can calculate their positions. We can kind of then, I would say, extrapolate that to some kind of a chart, which we say is a birth chart. But what is it? What is that specific thing which makes that? I mean, like, how is it then different? It could be just like some other, I would say. So we have artificial intelligence these days. That's a big thing. That's a big buzzword. You track history of different people, try to project that. So anything can be done. Then why is this different? Why is our Jyotish Shastra different from? Sorry, hello. Can you just go on mute if you don't have any questions, please? Sorry. Yeah. So the one thing we need to understand, which is the foundation of understanding horoscopes, is the karma theory. So karma theory, I know, that is Krishna has talked about it extensively in the Bhagavad Gita, and I will not call myself. I mean, my knowledge is very minuscule here. This is a huge ocean of knowledge, but in a nutshell, if I have to say, how does it relate to the horoscope charting? I would call it like this. So the first thing is the Sanchita karma, which is like the bank balance of all the karma that you have accumulated, good, bad, debit, credit, everything taken together. Consider that you have a kind of, bank account, your savings bank account, and that's where it gets accumulated. And that is the Sanchita, that is called as the Sanchita karma. And that's not just over one lifetime, it is over a series of lifetimes. You keep on accumulating, you do some good, you do some bad, everything. Okay. And then when a soul comes, this is the theory which we follow, that when a soul is born into the universe, in this world at a particular point of time, in a particular place, to a particular set of parents as well. Okay. Now that soul does not bring their entire, bank balance into this lifetime. So one part of that bank balance is then called as the prarabdha karma, which is the karma with which you are born in this world. And that particular time, place, parents, everything taken together, along with the karma which you are bringing in, is what decides your natal horoscope, or the horoscope that with which you are born. All right. Any questions? And slowly, we are getting into the topics. It may feel a little heavy. It may seem a little uh, technical also. So any questions, like I said, please do let me know. Okay? So now we have spoken about the prarabdha karma. So we all come to this world with a certain horoscope. Fine, I'm born, I come with a certain horoscope, which I say is my karma, which I bring into this. Then what? Then is everything going to be happening based on the karma that I bring on board? Then I mean, people can just say, okay, it's all the fault of my karma, I don't do anything. No, that's not the way it works. So in our horoscope, we have certain houses where you have more of a free will. There are certain houses which I would definitely say, yes, they are more karmic, where you cannot really exercise free will. When the time comes to good, bad, whatever, you have to go through that. But again, there are ways when you can remedy that, and there are ways where your own initiatives can change your karma a lot. And I'll talk about which houses are there subsequently. And this karma is called the agami karma, or the kriyamana karma, which is the karma that we do. Which is why I think if any of you have consulted any astrologer, a really good astrologer, maybe experienced astrologer, or somebody from Kerala, you will see that they will say, okay, let me do a prashna. They call it a prashna chart. This particular chart is advisable when somebody really comes with, say, a serious problem. Okay, so maybe I look at the natal chart, I look at everything. The prashna chart done at that particular moment tells what is the karma that this person has accumulated over his lifetime right now. So which also has a say in altering the way. So you may have had a bad fate to begin with, some bad period, some bad phase in your life, but maybe you have done good karma, you have really handled yourself well, you have worked hard, etc., etc. So that has the ability to modify the effects of the karma that you were born with. So it is not fatalistic in nature. That's the point I was trying. Any questions? All right. So just moving on to this slide. So I would just take a quick poll here. I think so these are the three type of horoscope chart styles that we have in India. Okay. So the one on the extreme left is the South Indian. The middle one is called the North Indian, and this one on the right is the East Indian style. So my the different horoscope styles, they are just a kind of, they're just like three houses where the layout is different, the house looks different. Okay, but inside the house, if you see, all the houses have a kitchen, all the houses have a bathroom, a living room, bedroom, dining room, etc., etc. All the functionalities of whatever rooms are there in the house are the same. So there is absolutely no difference in the way we analyze the horoscopes. It's just the layout. Okay. So I just want to take a quick poll here and understand if you can just kind of raise your charts, so that's for my understanding in who is using what. All those who are used to South Indian style of horoscope, can you, or have seen it, are familiar with it, can you just raise your, maybe you can give a reaction of give it in the reaction as a
Yeah,
hand or a,
yeah, hi. South Indian kind of chart only.
okay.
I'm Shivani here. Hello.
Hi, yeah, hi Shivan. So
Yeah, but in North, actually, the Panditjis, they see the North Indian
yeah,
styles. I would just like to know what is the basic difference between these kind of charts, matlab.
I'll come to that. I'll explain that.
Yeah,
I'll go back to the slide and
because
I'll explain that.
my cousin also, he sees the North Indian style of
Mm-hmm.
chart only, but I'm used to that South Indian
So
chart
that
because
is,
basically in a South Indian family you have those charts
yeah.
only.
So that's,
We
as I
what
was
we
saying,
call,
there is no
yeah.
difference actually. So there is absolutely no difference. It's just a layout, and I'll come to that. I'll also explain the background behind these three types of chart. So I
Yeah,
know,
right. Thank you.
so anyone who is using the North Indian chart style of chart here, because I know there are others who are using East Indian, I can make out, and those who would be using the South Indian. Anyone with the North Indian style of chart? Okay, no one, I guess. Okay.
I think Shimati has raised her hand.
Anyone? Because because then I will not, explain that in depth. I'll just say that. Sorry?
Vijay, I think Shimati has raised her hand. I can see that she has raised her hand.
Srimati will be South Indian. I don't think,
Yeah.
Srimati, yeah. Okay.
Vijaya, I
No,
don't have much.
Vijay, when you asked for South Indian, that time I raised my hand
Okay.
for the South
Okay.
Indian.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, then let me just go back.
Yeah. So, Vijaya.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tell
Yeah.
me.
I think if I don't know if you have my chart with you, that maybe no. I don't know if that is North Indian type.
Who is this? Sorry, I can't see your name. I'm in the presentation mode. Who is this asking the question?
Sujata.
Sujata will be East Indian chart. So all Bengalis will be using East Indian chart. All South Indians will be using South Indian style chart. So I don't think there is anyone purely from the north. But I'll just explain, what happens here. So the South Indians chart. So this, what you see, if you look at the top, okay. So all South Indians can focus on this. I'll come to the East Indian style as well. This Aries, AR, TA, these are the names of the Rashis. This I'll be explaining in today's session, what the Rashis are, what do they mean, okay? So South Indian way is, this is fixed. All the boxes that you see here, all these are called different houses. So in every chart, irrespective of whether it is Geeta's chart or is it Kamala's chart or my chart or anyone's chart, okay? They will always see Aries here. Hello.
Vijaya, I think we'll have to re-log in because otherwise there'll be this 40 minutes is approaching.
Okay,
So shall we re-log in?
Yeah, let us stop here because then we can start afresh.
Yes. So let's all re-log in. Or just
Thank
click
you
on
all.
that URL.
Yeah.
Same
So
link.
let's
What will be the link, Dipanjan?
Same one, same one.
Okay, fine.
Okay. So I'm just disconnecting and we'll connect back.